Building the Next Generation of Court Managers, Constructing a Management Training Program in an Urban Setting. Our faculty today will be Terry Curry and Laura Reed, and in a minute they'll go ahead and tell you a little bit about themselves. The session is being recorded, so if you have a question, if you can please raise your hand so I can see you and I can go ahead and provide you with a microphone. Thank you.
Thank you, and I get to start. Good afternoon. I'm Terry Curry, and Laura and I are going to lead this, but we have about, I'm looking around, probably 40, 50 co-facilitators in the room here. All the folks from the DC courts. Let me just see those hands. Okay.
Wow. We brought our own audience.
We brought our own audience. We brought our own audience. So I guess real brief, I want to do an introduction of myself. Laura will do an introduction, and then we'll get the show on the road.
That's right.
I'm Terry Curry. Laura, up to you. The shorter I am, the sooner we get out.
I'm Laura Reed. I won't be quite as brief. I've been with the DC courts for about 21 years in a lot of different capacities. I'm the director of the court's Crime Victims Compensation Program, and I'm also the chair of the court's Management Training Committee. And that's what brings me here today to tell you about this program that we've developed.
Okay, so now I feel guilty, and also I had the good fortune of working with the DC courts on this project since the beginning, and that's why I'm here, and I work at Michigan State University, and let's get the show on the road. So let me just ask, who was at the session that Brenda Wagon Connect Ivy did earlier today? So succession planning, building a talent pool, and the like. All right, we're going to build on that, and we're going to get you guys to work. And what we're going to do is you're going to get to do something that you don't normally get to do, because we're going to work from an assumption that money is no object. All right? It's fantasy time. Money is no object. Here is your assignment. Here is the situation, and so you're actually going to have to work with this. You're going to talk with people, and you're going to report out in a couple minutes. Here's the situation. You look at your court, and here's what you see. You look around, and you see a management workforce that has a high percentage of baby boomers in the workforce. So you're looking at folks, and now here's what you have. These are people who remember when docketing was done by writing in these giant books, the size of, anybody here remember those books? And your people were right by hand. And you've got a workforce that has people who were, they were there before we automated. They remember when we did everything manually, okay, and they're getting ready to retire. Okay, you're looking at a high percentage of them are retirement eligible. They were promoted from within. Okay. So they know their aspect of the court very well, but they've not worked in very many areas within the court. But again, very, very deep knowledge about what they do, and they do that very well. You look at the people that are beneath them, and they're Generation X and they're Generation Y. They don't have a lot of experience. They've worked in the court, and they haven't worked a lot in a lot of other places. And again, they know their area of the court, but they know probation, but they don't know anything but probation. Or they know the civil division, but they don't know much about what goes on outside of the civil division. And so their focus is narrow. They see on the one hand that these folks have to go at some point. I know retirement is people have been pushing it off, but at some point these folks are going to retire, and there are going to be some opportunities, or they're going to die and there are going to be opportunities. But either or, there will be some opportunities eventually. So they want to get, some of them want to get themselves ready. And again, at the same time, you're the leader now. This is your court, and money's no object. You want to make sure that you're going to have the talent that you need as these baby boomers who are in leadership positions are beginning to retire. All right? Now, money's no object. So the question is, what do you do? What's the program you create? What are the things you're going to put in place? and as best you can, you're going to find 3, 4 people around you, and somebody is going to use one of these sheets of paper and write down a few notes. Here are some of the things we would put in place if money were no object and if we had that dilemma. Da 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 da. To be having trouble with this fantasizing piece. Money is no object. I know that's a fantasy, but it's important. Money is no object. You've got the resources to do it right. What would you do? All right, qualification. Money is no object within reason. Somebody said we would just bring the Harvard Business School and make them a part of our court. Okay, well, we can't go that far. All right, 30 seconds.
You all over there dreaming up more new ideas for the management training program? Oh my gosh. How about that? Full time, huh? Okay. Yeah, the light is on. It was.
I keep turning it off. So. All right, let me see who can do a good job of creative fantasizing here. So, money was no object within reason. That's the dilemma. What are you going to do? And we're up front, and the mic is coming.
Okay, our number one thing is we're going to hire you, and we're going to give you a bonus if the program is effective. You said.
Yeah, okay.
We'll do some other things.
Might have worked before I had all these gray hairs. I don't know. Okay, what else?
We talked about doing things outside of the classroom, about establishing sponsorships and mentorship programs, literally putting people into leadership opportunities where they're the extra person in the court that they don't. So they're going to be doing real work of the court, but we're not taking existing court staff. We're adding them to the mix, so that we aren't debilitating people's ability, but we're adding to that and giving them some stretch opportunities, as I said in the earlier session. So.
Okay. Creating some stretch opportunities for folks. Right across here.
We also talked about getting a consultant who would help us make sure that we're covering all of the areas. But some of the other specific things we talked about was to, first of all, get these procedures down. And a creative way that we came up with to handle that is to match up these knowledge, these subject matter experts, with some of our younger staff, because they will be learning and asking questions that the other person would not have been asking, and then make sure that we as the leaders are aligning what comes out of that with the actual procedures, court rules, mission, things like that, because sometimes that gets missed. We also talked about on-the-job trainers, actually developing people who are good at being on-the-job trainers, because not everybody can do that, especially since it's often an older group training new people who have a lot of technology information and learn things differently. So we need to be prepared for that. And we also talked about beginning to build a culture in the organization where there's a lot more information sharing so that we have less of this going on for the future.
Okay, our culture of information sharing. We're going to do some, develop some on-the-job trainers. We're going to pair up experienced folks with not so experienced folks. Okay. Where else what other creative things did people come up with?
We talked about a lot of the areas that have been discussed to date. First thing we're doing is building a new training facility, since we have unlimited funds now. But after that, we're going to do extensive recruitment. We talked about doing outreach too, because people really don't know about the role of the court. So doing some educational outreach in the community so people know about the role of the court. We also talked about what we called reverse mentoring, because we always had this old versus new, and blending old employees so they can share their knowledge with the new employees. But us old employees can also benefit from the newer employees, especially in the area of technology. And we said PSAs. Is there anything else? On-the-job training. But I think a lot of the areas that have been discussed to date.
So we're going to do some outreach, and we're going to do some reverse mentoring. Confession time. This will help me assess the age of the group. Who here, when you get your new cell phone, you have to get your kids to hook you up? All right. Get me the ringtones that I want and unload this. Okay. All right. Other creative approaches to dealing with this dilemma.
This wasn't my idea, but I'm speaking for our group since he knows everyone here.
We got the disclaimer first, okay?
And again, we said a lot of the same things, but we came up with the retirement retention program that we're going to implement and start. We would have a program in place, so we would agree to keep on some of the older, more knowledgeable folks for 3 years, pay them a certain amount, have a structure set up so that we have them there for 3 years. We're capturing all that institutional knowledge. They're working with people that have been promoted or recruited from outside, and so we have that sharing of, again, the institutional knowledge going on, and we aren't losing everything. And as Nina said, talking about the changing culture of information sharing and trying to establish that with the people that we're bringing up.
Okay. Other strategies. Money's no object.
Okay.
We talked about a lot of the same things too, and one of the other ideas we talked about was night court, meaning that a lot of our young are not into getting up early in the morning. They don't wake up till 11 or 12, as well as the benefit for our customers, particularly in the D.C. area where we have a large, population of single parents, parents working different shifts and things like that, that they could work later hours, and that would help win-win on both sides.
Okay. Do we need judges for the night courts?
Yes, you
Again,
do.
same
Okay.
thing.
All right.
Younger
I'll just
judges.
check.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm really thinking more in terms of, filing and technology in places where you would not, unless you got the judges who want to stay late.
A lot of processes and activities don't require judicial resources. Okay. Any others? All right. So at the end of the day, money is always an issue. Resources are always an issue. So what we want to do today is to give you an N of one. So we say that up front, that this is what one court did to address these issues. And that means it has all of the advantages that one court could provide. It fits in that one context. But at the end of this, the question that we're going to leave you with, and hopefully we're going to spend a little time talking about, is, so what's there for the rest of us? So what are the pieces that we could pick for our court, okay, to adapt these pieces, maybe, or this piece, maybe not all of these pieces, because our culture is different, our context is different, our resources are different. But what could we do in our court to pick from these pieces that we're going to talk about in the D.C. courts something that would make a difference? Laura.
Well, I'm going to give you a little background about the District of Columbia courts. We're at the District of Columbia courts. The trial and appellate divisions are unified. There's a total of 1,200 employees. 100 are judges, 60 are managers, and we have about 100 supervisors. Our greatest challenge in the development of this project was that we didn't have a vehicle for succession planning. And at the court, we're fortunate to have our own separate Center for Education and Training headed by Mary Hawford, who many of you already know. And the Management Training Committee provides input and advice to the Center for Education and Training. So we were faced with a huge issue. Back in 2005, approximately 30% of the managers were going to be eligible for retirement in the next 5 years. And that would have amounted to a huge information drain if we did absolutely nothing.
Laura, let me just say one thing for those of you that may not be familiar with the D.C. courts. And if you sort of put it in context, what you have is you have sort of a state court. So you got court executive would be the equivalent of the state court administrator, and Mary would be the equivalent is the state judicial educator. But it's got a trial division, it has an appellate division. It has, and as we talk about the culture and the context, one of the advantages it has, it's sort of like a state, but it's not over 20,000 square miles. Okay? It's at multiple locations in the District of Columbia. So which creates some opportunities, and on some other respects creates some challenges.
We're not all located in the same building. I mean, we're all the same court, but we have 5 different buildings and numerous satellite offices where we perform the court's business. So what the management training committee came up with for succession planning was to develop a management training program. And we had to find a way to identify really high performers in the court, in each of the divisions, because with us being so separated in the different buildings, you may not, if you work there, you may not know anyone really outside of your individual division. So it required that we had not only buy-in from the leadership, the top leadership of the court, but from each of the division directors, because what we were going to be asking of them was a huge commitment of some of their best people in the office. And we determined that we wanted to make this for mid-level employees.
We started you with this erroneous assumption, or hypothetical assumption, money's no object. Okay, money's always an object. So the DC courts, and somebody said we would start in our hypothetical world, we go out and hire a consultant to do this, but most of us don't have the money to do it, and the DC courts chose not to go that way. They did, well, so let me ask, who here at some point has had the responsibility for developing a new policy on anything? What'd you do? Well, how'd you start? I went out and surveyed everybody else out there to see who has one and what does it look like, and will it work, and can I modify it, and can I adopt it, and can I make it work here? And so what the DC courts did is they said, well, let's look and let's see. There has to be somebody else that has this problem, and there has to be somebody else that's tried to come up with a strategy for attacking this problem. So let's look and see what's out there. What does the universe have to offer? A lot of resources. The Federal Management Training Center for training federal government employees. The Federal Executive Institute for training high-level federal employees, off in a center, site, remote location. There's obviously National Center for State Court, ICM, the Court Executive Development Program, well-known, well-established resource, as well as the Court Management Program, NACM, and my employer, Michigan State University, and that program built on the court competency, so look thoroughly at that. The Federal Courts Training Center, so the FJC, again, being in D.C. in this sort of quasi-state yet federal organization that the D.C. courts are, so obviously you'd look at what is the Federal Judicial Center doing. A couple of private firms that are located in D.C., but that do things globally, Achieve Global and Management Concepts, took a look at all of those, because maybe a possibility was, well, we simply choose a program or choose a vendor and have them develop the program and deliver it for the D.C. court. So one option, or an early first step, was to say, let's survey the universe and see, is there something out there that would meet our needs and help us to solve our problems? And the answer was, there are pieces in some of those things that would be helpful, but there's nothing that would be what we think would be the perfect fit. And again, this court happened to have the resources, and when I say resources, I'm not talking so much money as I'm talking talent, we're going to create our own. And what we're going to talk you through is, here's what was created.
I would also add that we took about 18 months in the development of the program. And we met at a minimum every month, but some months twice, or we met as often as we needed to. And we truly did survey each one of these one of the programs offered by these organizations. We looked at their curriculum, we looked at the way that it was designed. I mean, we really put a lot of effort into it. And what we came up with was the management training program. And the program is a year long. It's 12 two-day courses, so each month the program participants will be engaged in a training class. So that's a huge commitment from each one of the divisions, because one of your top employees is going to be out of the office, and you agree to it, and that's it. And we haven't had any difficulty with that arrangement since we established the program. The faculty is made up of 12 individuals. It has changed over time. We have made changes over time. But currently there are 5 external facilitators and 7 internal facilitators for each of the training programs. Often they teach together as teams, and sometimes individually. It depends upon what the subject matter is. In selecting our facilitators for the program, we called in an expert in adult education, Pat Morrow from University of Memphis, and she led them in, how many days was it, 2 or 3 days?
2 or 3?
3 days, and 3 days of training. And I've been through Pat Morrow's training judicial education program at the University of Memphis, and I thought it was just outstanding.
And let me just say before you leave that, and so it mentions that there are external facilitators and internal folks. So the people that are required as a condition of doing this include, so you got Dan Straub, who you got to sit through this 3-day course, because this is not about teaching you how to teach, though that was an important part of it. If you are an internal, you're the budget director for the court, or you're the HR manager for the court, and you're going to be one of the facilitators. But it was about a philosophy with respect to what we're trying to do. It was about, we're trying to change the culture of an organization, and we need to have everybody on the same page with regard to that. So it's understanding adult education theory and training methods and the like. That is an important part, but it's more than that. And again, an important piece of this was that every facilitator, every instructor had to participate in this 2 or 3 day course, and a part of it was to learn to experience some of the things that participants would experience. So whether it was Myers-Briggs or now I'm blanking out, Kolb. Now, where are my education experts? David Kolb. Yeah.
So we developed a very selective method of bringing people into the program. They do have to, participants do have to apply for the program so that we know that the interest comes from them. But each division director selects who they will send to the program for that given year. And the first class started in 2006. And as of this September, there will be 101 graduates from the program. The mission of the program is to expand the leadership capacity of the courts by developing employees to serve as agents for positive strategic change. And when we say positive strategic change, well, positive is easy, but everything that we do in the court is aligned with our strategic plan. And we wanted the management training program to be aligned with it as well. Our vision is to create a national model for court leadership. And the purpose of it is to offer a professional development program in court management for people who are eligible and selected. And its focus is on mid-level employees at the court. And as I was saying earlier, the program is aligned with our strategic plan. This is one of the goals, that we'll maintain a skilled and diverse workforce and foster high achievement and job satisfaction. And so this falls clearly within one of the court's major strategic goals. And this is the strategy that implements that goal, to provide training to judicial officers and court personnel. And of course, this encompasses a lot more than the management training program, but we offer this to you to demonstrate that whatever you do, it should be part of your court's overall strategic plan. And now we're going to get some insight.
You ready?
Yep.
I think if you just hit the end.
Oh, gosh.
No, that's okay. Ann Wicks is the court executive officer. She's going to give you the top management perspective on the program. Next page.
I think. On the left? Oh, on the left. Okay. There we go.
Hello, I'm Ann Wicks, and I'm the Executive Officer for the DC Courts. DC Courts includes the Superior Court of the District of Columbia, which is our trial court, as well as the Court of Appeals, the highest court in our jurisdiction. As Executive Officer of the DC Courts, what I really appreciate about the management training program is that it provides a significant opportunity for our employees to have growth and development here at the courts, whether or not they rise into the ranks of management. It also increases the level of skill and knowledge of our workforce, which is one of our strategic goals. It also sends a very important message to our employees that we feel they are worth the significant investment that we make in them. And it also increases employee engagement and helps to make the DC Courts a great place to work. What I really admire about the program is the vision and the execution of it that took place at the onset by our Center for Education and Training, as well as our Management Training Committee. I think the idea of putting together a class of people who stay together for a year-long program is an unusual opportunity once you leave the education system and you're in a professional environment. And I think it's a really wonderful opportunity to be with a group of people, grow with a group of people, become bonded together through a similar experience. I think the vision of having national experts team with senior executives here at the court to teach courses over a year's period of time, and having national experts who can bring that kind of theoretical or philosophical approach to the program, as well as our internal experts who bring the practical approach, gives a nice blend to the students in the program. And then the idea of the team projects, which I know were designed to create opportunities for people to work together, to learn how to work in a team, to learn how to accept one another and accept the positives and the great challenges that come with working with others, is a great opportunity. But even more than that opportunity of growth for the students, for the courts, it's been very advantageous because the team projects have really resulted in some programs and projects here at the courts that we might not otherwise have developed. And we've implemented a lot of the team projects, whether it was the Go Green Challenge of becoming more conscious of our environment, or the Court Greeters program, or even some of the social networking concepts that have arisen out of team projects. All of those things have helped the courts become a very different employer and a very great place to work. So I would say overall our management training program really goes a long way in helping create for us
the DC courts as an employer of choice in the Washington metropolitan area, which is one of our long-term goals.
Okay.
So some features of the program and some things that I'll mention briefly, and in the rest of the session you'll hear more about. First, obviously, 12 two-day courses that people attend. As Ann Wicks mentioned, it's a cohort program. So there's a group of people selected, and they're together for a year. They're meeting regularly during the year. She mentioned team projects. So that means not only are participants getting together once a month or so for the workshops for 2 days, they're working between those sessions on first identifying what's going to be the team project, then eventually developing, executing that team project, and later on we'll talk about the annual event at which they present the results of the team project and leading into graduation. You'll hear more as well about not just the facilitators, the teaming up of quote-unquote national experts with court executives, but also one of the things we want to make sure you hear and think about as something that you might bring to your court is a role for some internal facilitators, connectors, I think, of people who really connect every session to the next session and who are with that cohort throughout the year. Okay, so you're going to hear more about that. So what do you need to graduate? And again, we'll elaborate on that a bit. So you got to be there. So you got to be participating in all the classes. But it's not just being there. This is about changing culture. So there is modeling going on and expectations that are being set about. It's about being here and being here on time and being here and ready to work. It's about being here and having done your homework and being prepared. It's about being here and paying attention to what goes on, not just in this classroom, but if you're interested in being a leader, then you need to know about what leaders in leadership and management development and case are having to say. So what's being written about these topics? What's the popular media saying about these topics? So there are discussions not just about whether it's case flow or emotional intelligence, whatever today's topic happens to be, but it's also about what do we do to make sure that you are grooming and preparing yourself to be a leader. So it's being there. It's completing all the assignments. There is the team project, and you're going to see an example of the winning team project from one year, and you'll see listed at least the winning projects for every year. You're going to hear from the facilitators who will comment, who will describe a feature of the program that I think, as you think about what you might adopt, I think is a particularly powerful piece. There is a journal that every participant keeps. And every participant is logging into throughout each of the sessions and is being referred to, and they're going back and they're looking at it and they're talking about it. And what were the highlights from the session 2 months ago and 3 months ago, and how does that connect with what's happening here? And everybody is keeping their journal and they're keeping those up to date. You'll hear more about that. And then obviously it's active participation. You don't get to be someone who's just riding along. You are participating in every class. You are pitching in. You are part of the team and developing and presenting the team projects. So, and you're going to get more on that, on all of those.
Okay, what do the participants get from the program? I mean, why would anybody want to put themselves through this for a whole year? But this opportunity affords them to be able to learn with experts and to be exposed to professional development. I think one of the unintended consequences of the program is the personal growth that participants experience. It's not something that we really use to sell the program, but it is definitely something that I think if you ask people who have graduated from the program, they will tell you that they have experienced personal growth as well. We talked about the cohorts that are developed, And as I said earlier, we have at least 5 major buildings to our court system, not to mention the various satellite offices that we have in the community. So someone may work at the court for 20 years and not necessarily know someone else who's also been at the court for another 20 years. So this is an opportunity for participants to get to meet other people who have similar career backgrounds and who have similar aspirations, and they're together. It's not quite like pledging or anything like that, but they do become extremely close. And it is an opportunity for them to meet people that work for the court that they may not have known before. And at the end of the program, we do have a graduation ceremony for them, and we issue certificates to them. Now, we discussed at length when we were developing the program, and I did hear in Brenda's class earlier today that there are some courts that bring everybody into the program. That may be an area that we decide to expand to one day, but we chose to limit ours to management training, to leadership development. And we decided that we would focus on mid-level employees. I don't know that our grades would have any meaning to you, but these are between grades 8 and 14. But they must have been with the court for at least 3 years. We felt that with the kind of investment that we were putting into this program and to its participants, we wanted to make sure that this wasn't just one of those fly-by employment situations where you come and work someplace for a few months and then jump somewhere else. We wanted people who had already demonstrated a commitment to the court through length of service. And so you have to have worked at the court for 3 years before you would be eligible. And it's pretty difficult because we've got some wonderful people that have just come in, and they come and they say, why do I have to wait 3 years? But those same wonderful people, when their 3 years are up, they're the people that come into the program. And they have something to look forward to. We also required that, there's a question. No. She asked if we had an educational requirement, and no, we didn't. Although in the grades 8 through 14, through the positions themselves, there may already be some educational requirements.
Mike is coming, see.
When thinking about generational diversity, I've been hearing that the younger generations are a lot more mobile when it comes to jobs. They don't tend to stay very long. I don't know how accurate that is. We haven't seen that in our court yet, but I'm hearing that's a trend. Have you considered that at all?
Well, we have, and I'll probably address it more later, we can't make any promises of promotion at the court because that would be outside of the hiring process. But we're not asking them to make any promises either. But if they have been at the court for 3 years and they demonstrate potential and they apply for it and they're selected for it, we're going to ask them to be part of this program.
My question ties in with this. What's been your retention rate of the 106 that have gone through the program? Are they all still employed?
I don't know the exact numbers. Maybe Mary or Keith may know better. I can only think of one person. How many? 3 from the program or 3 from the court? Did they leave the court?
Yeah, who graduated from the program.
And they left the court? 3. 3 out of 100 and, well, soon to be 101. I think it's 3 out of 86 now. One other question.
Follow-up to that. Of the 106, how many moved on to higher management positions?
We're going to address that
Coming up.
in a later screen. And we do ask them that they at least verbalize or sign off on a commitment to complete the program once they start it.
Let me just add, as you think about this Generation X difference in the turnover and people not staying in jobs, take a look at the jobs in the court and forget for a second the current longevity of people in court jobs. But how many employers out there, even with the cuts that are going on to benefits programs for courts and other public sector employers, how many of your competitor employers out there, not in the public sector, have benefits programs as, I don't know what the right word is, rich as yours? Lucrative. When I go and I talk, when I visit the courts in D.C. a couple times a year, it's a place that is an employer of choice. And forgetting about for a moment all of the programs and the benefits package, the salary package actually is quite a competitive piece. And so it's a place where in today's economy, a lot of folks are saying, I can build a future here. And we know, okay, here's a question I often ask. How many of your parents worked someplace 20 or 30 years and retired? Okay. How many of you think your kids will go to work someplace 20 or 30 years and retire? Okay.
No one.
And then the question is, how many of you would be happy if your kid just went to work someplace? All right. Okay. Sort of the one place that even amongst all this change, the one place where people can go and have a shot at staying 20 or 30 years is still the public sector. Again, we're undergoing a lot of change, but relative to what's happening elsewhere, there's still a bit more stability here than there is in many other places.
I would also suggest that programs like this give people more mobility, and it's part of them staying because they're not stuck in the same job. They have the opportunity to advance. It's another thing we can do to help retain good employees.
Well, employee retention is, and this is completely aside from this, we've embarked upon a campaign of building a great place to work. And that's one of the other areas that our management training committee is now working on, and we've been working on it for the past several years. And I think it makes a huge difference, but that's just me. But there are other people here that can address it. But we have made, I think, the culture change at the court. We truly do value our employees, and we create design programs to let them know that and to make them feel valued. And, you know, we're hoping that they become more engaged, more productive, and make for the better administration of justice. One more question.
I noticed that in your requirements in your selection process, one of the requirements is that they have to be an employee for 3 years and have their most recent evaluation has to be meets criteria.
Yes.
And then the director has to approve them to participate.
Yes.
So what happens if the employee is in the program and then all of a sudden they start having a performance issues? Is that something that you address? Does the director have the opportunity to pull them out of the program? How does that work, or is that even considered?
It's never come up. It really hasn't come up. And with, I mean, I know things can happen. You know, employees can go through something in their personal lives that make them fall down at work. But we're really relying heavily upon the recommendations of the division directors and their supervisors I mean, these are the people that work with them every day. They know what a huge commitment this is. And we're not going to recommend somebody whose performance wavers. That wouldn't be, I mean, you have to have at least meets expectations. And meets expectations is really pretty stringent.
It is, it's challenging to get in. There is competition to get in. It's desirable. People want to get in to the program. And I think that helps both to increase the quality of people who apply at the front end, and then obviously the pipeline at the back in terms of who's coming out of the program. If you, well, looking at the course offerings, so if you took the NACM core competencies models, you could overlay it and you would hit most of those things. But this is the series of two-day courses as they've been structured to fit the needs of the DC courts. They have evolved and changed a bit over the 5 years of the program. But there's an orientation and an introduction, court administration. So what is it and what are court systems? So a perspective that's broader than just I know the DC Superior Court. Okay. You need to understand something about the judicial system in the U.S. more broadly. What are best practices? What's court administration? What's this field? So again, a good foundation for the program. Much of what we do today in organizations of all types is about working in teams. So it's not just being a team member, it's leading teams, so managing teams well. Leadership and personal effectiveness, identifying your leadership style, we go through a Myers-Briggs, so I walk into the room, I know who are my I's and who are my ISTJs, and they get a sense of what does that mean and how does that relate to the other members of my team, and the fact that having a different style is okay. It's what do I do with it? Okay? And how do I use it? And how do I use that to make myself more personally effective? Go back for a second, if you would. I do the human resources piece, and we talk about diversity and culture. We talk about generational differences in the workplace and make sure that everybody's got a good understanding on what are the major legal issues. Case flow and operational efficiencies. I've often said almost whatever the industry, if you're going to be a leader in that industry, you need to understand sort of the basics of the business. And if you're in the courts, I'd say case flow is the basics of the business. So when I think about, since I'm in Michigan in the automobile industry, and part of what sent General Motors down the wrong direction, they went through a long period of time when they kept getting accountants to be the CEO. And finance people to be the CEO, not engineers. Okay, and if you look at the one U.S. automobile industry that didn't go through bankruptcy and been successful, Ford, they got a guy from Boeing, but what is he? He's an engineer. He knows about building things and putting systems together to build things and bringing people together to build things. So case flow, you got to understand case flow. Now, the recent case flow graduates, you can participants in this section, you can always tell them because they don't hear very well. They heard very well before they started the program, but then they had Barry Mahoney, and now they're, okay, that's a personal, yes, yeah.
I have a question.
I love Barry, but he has a voice.
Hi, I'm required to, in Arizona, we're required to get continual legal education and training, or COJET. It's been reduced from 16 hours to 8 hours now due to the budget. Are the individuals that are attending this course receiving any kind of credits for attending?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, so that doesn't satisfy your continuing legal education needs for attorneys. Case flow, principles and practices of budget. Got to understand budget and finance, both in a general perspective, but also what does it mean and how do we do it at the DC courts. Situational leadership, again, opportunity to assess your leadership style. What does it mean and how do we apply it? Other courses. If you're going to be a leader, at some point you're going to have to make some presentations. So how do you do that well? And how much time do we spend in ineffective meetings? So how do we run effective meetings? And even if we're a participant in the meeting and we're not leading, how do we make sure that we help to move the organization and initiatives forward by being effective in meetings? The second part of the human resources series of workshops, performance management, and in that piece, it's time. So this is happening in June, when the organization is getting ready to go through the annual performance review process. Emotional intelligence, some of you in early, I think, was it plenary? Or we talked about the importance of emotional intelligence. And then the strategic management and performance management it sort of is the capstone, if you will. This is sort of pulling together what's been talked about in all of the other sessions. So the other 11 sessions, and what does all of this mean in terms of strategic management and helping the organization to be a world-class organization. So those are the 2-day workshops, and I'm going to give you perspectives from people who are key players, and I want to start with the co-facilitators. So these are those people that I said are real critical in terms of connecting session 1 to session 2 and session 2 to session 3, and they're the glue in my mind that holds this together. The 12 sessions, instructors are coming and going. Most people do 1 or maybe they do 2. The co-facilitators are there for every session. And we're going to start, if somebody would give the mic to Dr. Keith Robinson.
And I'm going to flip on to the next screen.
Well, as a co-facilitator, obviously you see up there that there is a bank of things that we do with respect to roles and responsibilities. But aside from that, one of the main things that I like to put emphasis on is the second bullet. Yeah, we are the linking pin. We link with the participants there, and then we also link with the management training committee members. We talk with them with respect to what's going on, what's going well, what's not going so well, what can we make improvements upon. Okay. But aside from those things, yes, we coach, we counsel, we cheerlead, but we're also a guidepost. Okay, and I want to go back and put really heavy emphasis on that piece we call leadership, because that really is what sustains the program. That is the survivability of the program with respect to credibility, with respect to your competencies, with respect to your knowledge base, with respect to working hand in glove, if you will, with the faculty membership. Setting that learning stage is critical. And like Professor Curry said, each session, we make the link. We give them the language. We ensure that they're able to conceptualize, all in an effort to go back to their units, branches, and or divisions and apply what they've learned. And so how do we do that? Well, we ask hard questions such as, what were the key learning points in said session, okay? What were some of the major takeaways? And in order for them to answer those 2 questions, they have to, and we encourage them to take copious notes. And they take that note-taking is done in their journals. And so at this time, I'd like to yield the floor to Ms. Wanda Johnson-Stark, if she doesn't mind. It may be a surprise to her. But journaling was her baby, so I'd like for her, if she doesn't mind, to speak to the journaling process. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Wake-up call. That's how we hand off.
Thank you very much. You do that well, Keith. Journaling, as Professor Curry said, the class members or the participants in the program are provided with really nice journals that Keith does a lot of work into finding really nice leather-binded journals. They also get briefcases when they first come. So we want to make them feel very professional and very special. They're monogrammed with the program's name on it and everything. So every session we talk about journaling. We say, pull out your journals. We let them know in the beginning you're going to journal the whole process. The journals are theirs to keep. We never really review journals to see what they're writing. But it also gives them the opportunity to write their thoughts, write down important aspects of the program that they want to remember. Sometimes we just ask them to journal things that maybe not even have anything to do with the particular course. It's about writing and putting your thoughts on paper. And it was one of my most favorite. I shared the story. I disclosed that as a child growing up, I enjoyed diaries. I mean, I'm in the generation where we had diaries with lockets and keys. And it's something you go back to. It's amazing how some of the participants come back and talk about how they, in their daily work, a project or something that they may be experiencing on the job, go back to their journals and refer to professional terms that they may have heard or philosophies, and then therefore go back and implement that. So it's a very key piece that connects them from one class to another. So I found it very special, and I tried to help them understand how special it was, too.
And then there are added pieces, and again, I'd like to yield the floor and draw in our other co-facilitator, Mr. Lewis Kelly, for his take.
One of the key things that I think we try to do is make sure they understand the teamwork aspect of it. We try to meet with them every morning during the day, reminding them of what's important. Too many times one of the things we first tell them is that this program does not guarantee you a promotion. So just because you're in the program, we want to be clear, this does not guarantee you a promotion, so they understand that. Our goal is to make them better employees. So one of the things that they learn most is that they are exposed to knowledge that people who were supervisors 10, 15 years ago did not get that kind of budget experience, procurement experience, HR experience. So they're learning things that some of the supervisors before them weren't exposed to. Mm-hmm. We want them to begin to act like managers. You don't wait until you get to promotion before you act like a manager. So your behavior should change as soon as you get into the program. Being on time is critical. If you could be 5 minutes late, you could have been 5 minutes early. So we make it real clear there are certain expectations now that we have. You do not wait until you apply for the job before people start seeing you as a manager. When you bring in the best facilitators, we believe we have a very good facility for training. We now expect you to participate with your best. So that's one of the key things that we try to do. But we stay with them the entire year, encouraging them. All teams are not perfect, so we have to intervene at times. They also have, each team has a coach that they can go to if they have trouble when they're putting together their team projects. So they're not left alone, but they always have people who are guiding them, offering them advice. But the main thing is they must participate. And again, like I said, when we have so much that we're trying to give to them, we expect a lot too.
You want me to go next?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I'm going to bring the perspective of a division director, but you will also hear from other division directors later in our presentation, but also as a team project mentor, which I have been for the past 5 years now. And it's a really wonderful thing to see younger people at the court, which they generally are. We have a mix of ages in the program, but generally, well, they're usually younger than I am, so young people from my perspective. To see them so engaged and to see them care about, especially with the development of projects in the court, and to listen to them, and they make you see things that you hadn't thought about before. So it's wonderful for me as a mentor to be exposed not only to the people on my staff, but to the people on the teams that I mentor in the program. As a division director, gosh, I've been in this current position for 15 years, and I wish we'd had this program 15 years ago. I cannot share with you the growth that I see in my employees who have participated in this program. So far, I've had 4 that have graduated, and my 5th one is currently in the class now. Rosemary Burgess. And their perspective is so changed after the program. They are not just concerned with what goes on inside the office, but their view is far more enterprise-wide. Used to be a real challenge to explain to people about why you couldn't do something because of some budget challenge. But it's so wonderful when you have people on your staff, employees that work for you, that understand it. They get it. They understand it. They get a lot of things. And they are far more, they come back from the program far more outgoing, more willing to participate in court-wide projects, and we have a lot of them. You know, there was a time when you would have to beg people, please, 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 volunteer for this, volunteer, or strongly suggest. No more. Really, that is one of the real advantages of this program. You've opened up a new world, some new doors for your employees, and they're not going to close again, I don't think. Certainly it hasn't happened for the people that I experience every day.
And I was minding my own business about 6, 7 years ago, and Meredith Orford called me up, and I'd known her from her days at the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges, and she said, I got this program, and I want you to do this, and you got to come to D.C., and first you got to be a participant for 2 days. But she described all of this, and I said, because she asked me, I was going to say yes anyway. But then she said, and how much will you charge us to do it? And I told her, and she said, oh, that's too much. And I said, well, whatever you pay me, that's what I'll do it for, because that's because Meredith asked. And more important, because I'm blessed. I have a wonderful job at Michigan State University, and I'm getting to the point in my life where I want to do things that make a difference. And so what this was is this was a court that said, we want to try to do this right. All too often in my career, it's been, you're sort of a fly-by-night. You fly in and you do a couple days and you leave, and does anything change? Probably not. Then maybe a couple years later they call you back, and maybe it changed and maybe it didn't. But this was a court that said, no, we're really trying to change an organization and to develop a pipeline of leaders, and we're going to do this over a period of time, and we're going to have these folks together over a period of time. And so what it did for me was it created an opportunity for me to get to know and to feel like a part of this organization. So I know D.C. court people, let me see, open to all, trusted by all, justice for all. How'd I do on the mission statement?
All right.
Yeah. But you learn the policies, and so as you're talking about performance management, I'm not just talking generally about performance management, and I'm not using terms like excellent, outstanding. It's meet expectations, exceeds expectations, failed to meet expectations, and the pairing of an outside person with the Fred Horowitz, who at the time was the HR director for the court and since has retired but still does it. So you bring so maybe I bring a national experience, and here's how it works in other courts. Here's what some other courts are doing on this, and here's what the federal courts are doing on it, and maybe here's what's happening internationally on it, and here's what the theory is and how other organizations outside the courts do it. But also to have someone who says, yeah, but at the D.C. courts, here's the other piece of this. Not just here's what our policy is, but when participants ask questions about, okay, but Mr. So-and-so said, you've got somebody here who knows whether Mr. So-and-so is right or Mr. So-and-so is wrong in doing it, and can help to affect change. Okay? One of the things that we heard early on in the program, at least in my session, and I don't know if this went on in other sessions as well, participants would say that, well, this is good, but my supervisor doesn't do this stuff. We talk about performance management, how to do it well, and they say, yeah. And I think, as Laura mentioned, it would have been nice if 20 years ago this was available to supervisors. But the court took that to say, okay, we need to do some things to develop our supervisors. So they started a series of development programs to get our supervisors, the people who are in management positions now that aren't where they need to be, to get them there while we have this new cadre that's being developed. But the last piece, and as we move on, it's the one program that I work on in which I know what came before my session. I know what comes after my session. I know how my session fits. At the beginning of the session, I heard the co-facilitators making the connections between what went before and what we're about to do. And so it's really something, at least for an outside person like me, that is unique and special, really to be a part of something that's bigger and broader, and to see how that all connects.
Okay, next we're going to tell you about the program projects. We have had projects, team projects from the very beginning. The co-facilitators develop the teams after they have a chance to get to know who the program participants are that year. And I guess, what are you thinking about when you put the teams together, Keith? Personality and Myers-Briggs. There are a lot of different factors that go into the development of the teams, but people don't self-select. You're not going to get on a team with your girlfriends and just chitter-chatter and not get any work done. You'll probably be on a team with people you really didn't know before. And each team, there are usually 5 teams, has got to select a project. And the project has got to be of some value to the DC courts. It's got to be aligned with the strategic plan. There's got to be evidence of good team process, and one of the ways that you demonstrate evidence of good team process is through your journaling. So it all ties in together. The effective and efficient use of resources. And when I'm mentoring a team, I always ask them what I know. Mr. Delaney would ask me, where's that money going to come from? Where are you going to get the money for that? Where would that come from? And they have to document each step of the development of their project. And they also have to give a presentation of their project. That usually happens in August. It's a huge event for us. And really, it's one of the highlights of my year because some of the things that our students are coming up with are just incredible. Now I'm not going to read you these lists of projects, but I will tell you that listed in, this looks green here and it's blue there. What's listed in green was the winning project that year. All of the winning projects were implemented. They became part of what the court does. But many of the projects that did not win the competition were also implemented. So take a minute, look at those. Let me also let you know that the projects are competitive. So there's, in the development of what their project is going to be, there's some secrecy, and can I ask you this? Can I tell you this? Can I, you know, they really do become a lot of fun and very competitive. But at the end of the year, and I'll switch to the rest of them, at the end of the program year, after the winners have been selected, then they are recognized during our annual employee award ceremony. And there's even a financial bonus that comes with being part of the winning team. And their pictures are taken, and they're part of the award ceremony booklet. It's really wonderful. But many of these programs have been implemented. One of the handouts that you received was the WOW, Working on Wellness and Walking for Health program. This was an outgrowth from one of the program teams. And it is something that has been implemented as part of our larger Working on Wellness project at the court.
And it wasn't even a winning project?
It wasn't. No, it was not. Okay, so now we're going to be able to view one of the winning projects. Oh, can we freeze this for a second? I just want to let you all know that when you see this, and this was my team, when you see this, you know, I'm sure that the DC public school system is like many others, and they have huge numbers in classes. So when you hear the children who are judges speak, there'll be two. There'll be two prosecutors, there'll be two defense attorneys. There are two of everything. They're coupled up, and they kind of read together in unison. So if I didn't want you to wonder about that when you view it.
You showed that you do understand that it's important to know laws and stay on the right side of the law and be good citizens. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about TV judges. Has anyone seen Judge Judy or Judge Joe Brown? Okay, I confess I actually watch Judge Judy sometimes too. And they do things that make you laugh sometimes, and sometimes they act angry to the people in their courtroom. But this isn't the way that real judges in real courtrooms act. A real judge has a serious job to do and always promises to treat people fairly and with respect. The booklet and the information that my colleagues are going to tell you about, and then the mock trial that Judge Bush is going to hold with you, will tell you a little bit about the laws of DC and hopefully help you to stay on the right side of the law. Thank you.
Beautiful. I'm just so happy you all are here. This is my courtroom. I'm Judge Bush, and you all are so smart, and you're just so excited and interested, and I can tell because every time someone asks a question, what are you doing? You're raising your hands because you want to learn. And so, you know what that tells me? That you can learn anything and you can do anything you want to do. And I can remember being in the third grade. It was a long time ago, but I remember the third grade. And to be a judge, I'll tell you, I went to school for 20 years. Whoa! Because I counted them up. I went to kindergarten, and then I went to grade school for 12 years. That's 13. Then I went to college for 4 years, and then I went to law school for 3 years. So that's a long time. But I learned a lot, and when I got this job, I said, I've gone to school, I can handle it, I'm okay. And you'll be the same way. If you study hard in school and do well, you can do anything you want to do. Now, I'm also a mom. When my daughter was in the 2nd or 3rd grade, I don't remember, I was the class mom, and I wrote this play for her class. So I hope you'll enjoy it.
We are here today for a trial. Mr. Wolf is charged with destroying a straw house and a stick house and trying to destroy a brick house. It is your job to decide if he is guilty or innocent of those charges. Please stand to be sworn by the clerk of the court. Please take a stand and raise your right hand. Do you promise to tell the truth? Yes. Members of the jury, your job today is to listen carefully to the testimony of the witnesses and decide this case fairly. You already know that there are two sides to every story. I want you to listen to all of the witnesses before you decide this case. First you will hear from the prosecution and then from the defense. Why do you think he's guilty? Because he lied. He lied. Because when you have a cold, you have to go to the doctor and they give you a note saying you. He didn't have a doctor. He didn't have a doctor's note, and that means that he was wrong. He didn't have a doctor's appointment. You don't have to have a doctor's appointment. You can come. You can call your doctor and come in. If he has the best, not every time. My question is. Not every time. It was a strange convention. It was a strange convention that he kept on going to the West house instead of going to one of his houses instead of going to one of his. Because he ran out of tissue. Yeah, maybe he was cursing. I read the book about the wolf side of the story, and it said he was making the cake, and then he had a bad cold day.
Okay. We realize that our time is getting really short, and we have some other videos that we would like to share with you. So we're going to cut down on some of our,
So how much did it cost to do all of this a year?
$60,000 a year. Okay. We have the promotion rate for participants in the program is 20%.
So far.
So far. Benefits and challenges. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to have a cadre of network-informed people to participate in the court process and in court-wide projects. Challenges or risks, there are limited promotional opportunities at this time.
One thing, Laura, I heard you talk about on the benefits piece is you have people now who are volunteering to be on committees, to be on task forces, to work on things in ways you didn't have before.
Yeah. And another challenge is supervisors who must lead staff who have been exposed to cutting-edge knowledge. It cuts both ways. It can be a good thing, depending upon the supervisor. Sometimes not such a good thing. But it certainly is something that I think it's something that the benefits of it are outweighed by whatever challenges there are. We have established postgraduate classes, and these are some of them. And so people who have graduated from the program, we don't just leave them and, leave them hanging out there. They continue the learning process. Okay, so here's our next video.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that didn't work?
Well, let's see here. Back up. Oh, we got to do this.
All the way down. Okay. Oh, yeah, I didn't do that. I didn't swirl on the picture itself. There you go.
Come on. There we go.
What got me first interested in the management training program to apply was the enthusiasm from my director, Laura Reed, and also the wonderful opportunity that it provided for me to get full training on the inner workings of the court system. My total learning experience while I was in the management training program, I would describe as very full and complete. It was structured wonderfully by both of our trainers, Dr. Keith Robinson and Ms. Wanda Stark. We had excellent support in being able to express ourselves and also seize the opportunity to personally grow and learn how to inspire future employees and staff to grow. We also got really wonderful information on the inner workings of the court system and how courts operate nationwide. And on top of it all, I got to network with my colleagues.
Things that have motivated me in the programs thus far have been the ability to see and learn everything about the courts. This has been a unique learning experience that I never really expected when I first walked in. Just getting the inner workings and the foundation of everything that's so young in my career will only benefit me in the long term. I'm also able to take everything that I've learned and share those things with my staff.
I believe this program will provide me with the opportunity, and has provided me with the opportunity, to build on my knowledge base, to develop skills, and to also present those skills to other people, to be effective and provide, rather than just efficient, and provide basically skills and a vision. I want to put my vision out there, and that's what motivates me. I think that this program can provide me with lots of opportunities, most of which is really important to me, would be exposure.
It was a wonderful experience.
Thank you.
Okay. And now we're going to hear what some directors at the court have to say.
I am very proud to say that I've had 14 employees to go through the program and to graduate, and I have personally observed a change in their attitude, behavior, and performance. The first performance-related change that I noticed with the employees who have gone through the program is their increased confidence. Because they are more confident, they have volunteered more for projects and other initiatives, and they also bring to the table just the ability to work better independently. They're more comfortable in meetings with senior managers and judges, and overall, at the end of the day, they produce better work products.
I definitely think it's an effective program for developing employees. Employees tend to focus just on their jobs, whether it be entering data into the system, whether it be providing interpreters, whether it's making sure that the courtrooms have enough jurors. This program gives them a chance to see the overall operation of the court and the impact that what they are doing has on the overall operation. They can see budgeting and why that's important and what they need to do in connection with that. They can see the personnel procedures, get better acquainted with those, the strategic plan and the importance of that in terms of the operation of the court. So all of this helps them grow as employees and as individuals, and helps them to, as I said, have a better understanding of the overall operation. Well, in the next 5 to 10 years, there are going to be a lot of challenges for the court. There are going to be new ways of doing things, new approaches that need to be taken to solving problems. There are going to be long-term problems that are going to need to be solved. And as a result of participating in this program, I see our employees as being prepared for that challenge. Also being prepared to, as other employees move on or leave the court, they'll be better prepared to take over those responsibilities. So I think this program is very important in terms of the court continuing to move forward. And so those are the kinds of things that I think people will get out of this program.
In summary, I would like to say that I value this program. I see it as a win-win and see nothing but positive outcomes from its implementation and from its continued operation.
Okay. Do you have the lights?
So here's the question. You don't have $60,000. What have you heard that are things that might be the pieces that could be adopted for your court?
One of the things we've been doing in Arizona and with our programs is a move away from national faculty and using local faculty exclusively, which you do lose something, obviously. I don't want to deny that. But it certainly has reduced our leadership program costs and maximizes the amount of local specific information that they're getting as opposed to some of the national perspectives that we were getting from other programs that, you know, didn't always apply.
Hi, in New Jersey we have a pilot program for all of our team leaders, and it's only in the civil division at this point, but we're trying to figure out what's the next step because most of the team leaders have gone through the program. The new team leaders are going through it, and that's great, and we've had about 80 graduates so far, yay. But I like the concept of keeping people together. We didn't do that. People took classes as they could take them. But for some of the continuing education requirements that we have for the graduates, I like the idea of putting together some classes where the graduates get together once or twice a year even, and at least build that camaraderie and can continue to learn from each other.
So I have a question for the co-facilitators. What would you think about the idea of using some graduates or some executive leadership in becoming co-facilitators from the court, giving them some training on how to do it? Because I love the concept of co-facilitators. I don't think we have enough educational staff. And then I thought of what are some growth opportunities for people who've gone through the management programs and being able to give back. So would that kind of a concept work? And would you be willing to call me later and tell me how it might work?
I do.
Because the program overall is extremely time consuming. It really is. And I don't think any of us realized how time consuming it was when we were developing it. But oftentimes we had students to come to us and say, I just didn't realize it was so much. I really have a lot to do at work. They were working in the evenings. They were working on weekends, particularly even when they were planning and preparing their projects. As a co-facilitator, I was only able to do it for 3 years because it was also taken away. It was a committee assignment I had, but it was also taking me away from my work in the office and could not do it. So I think the idea of, and I really hated to step aside, but the realities are it is a lot of time. It really is a lot of time to do it. So I think the idea of bringing in or looking at the possibility of bringing in graduates of the program as co-facilitators, you know, is something that we could certainly talk about because it is extreme. It's, don't get me wrong, it's a lot of time involved. You know.
But I would add that you want your co-facilitators to be the same people throughout the entire year's program for that cohort, because they really are the go-to people. I don't get calls about the program. And when I get questions about it, I say, call Keith, call Lewis. I mean, they really are the go-to people. And I think having some consistency there you know, really helps the process. But then, you know, as we change and grow, that certainly is a great idea.
That's a great idea. It's terrific. Thank you so much for bringing that.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. What's the breakdown of costs? That's down, and how's that? I assume the majority of it is facilitator costs,
Most of the costs, some of them are materials. Oh, sorry. Some of it is materials because we order all these things, you know, the journals and the Myers-Briggs and all that. But most of it is for the outside consultants, faculty, and it's their consulting fees and their travel costs.
Five outside faculty and 7 internal faculty. So was that per module, or was that for the entire program?
For the entire year.
For the entire program. Cool.
I think some sessions are led entirely by internal people. And are there some that are led just by outsiders?
Yeah.
A couple.
In the beginning, that video that was the chief executive officer or something. Was that for our benefit, or is that something that you show to the people in the class, or do you have, not that you aren't as high as you need to go in terms of welcoming these folks into the program, but do you have any higher leadership or management who come in to kind of welcome and kick this off?
Well, we have an opening ceremony for each new class year that comes, and our chief judges participate, as well as our executive officer, Ann Wicks, our deputy executive officer, Dr. Cheryl Bailey, and we invite, and they come, division directors. And everybody has an opportunity to wish the new participants well in their, in their program year. And it's a tradition now. It really is. And these same folks all come to the presentation of projects, and they also come to the graduation. So there are 3 major events, but I think that the program participants know that the top leadership at the court supports this program and is encouraging them to do well. Okay, well...
Can I leave you with 2 thoughts?
Sure.
Two quotes to leave you with as you think about this. One is, tomorrow will be different by choice or by chance. Your court's going to have to replace some folks that are in senior leadership positions, whether you're ready for it or not. Okay, so we might as well get ready. That's number 1. And number 2, and this relates to a lot of things that are going on in the conference, but I would think about this. Effective training is a process, it's not an event. This was really about a process. You can do a day here and 2 days there, but to be effective, it's about bigger process. It's not just about doing an event.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming. And I think if you leave the evaluations on the table, we'll make sure that they're picked up, that they're correct.
Yes, and there's been a shortage of evaluation forms, but if you have one, if you can please complete it. Thank you.